I was reminded last night, or rather, me and my wife talked about uh, how different our spiritual journeys are or have been. She is a person of experience, of feelings, emotion, drive. She's always known that Christ was Lord. She's always put her faith in God. She still sinned quite a bit when she was younger, of course. But she said she grew up in a atmosphere where she never really doubted if God existed. I, on the other hand, growing up, I knew there was something out there. I just would struggle with the idea of what that something is. Now, I grew up in a Christian family. We went to church all the time, Bible study. My dad would wake up early in the morning reading his Bible, prayed quite a bit. My mom prayed quite a bit. I was a pretty skeptical person when it came to God. It was a real being, or what I was doing was really necessary. I didn't want to do the hard work to talk to God. I didn't really want to do the hard work of asking God if he's real or not. I didn't think any of that was necessary, nor did I really think about it at all. I just assumed that as long as I am a good person, I think I'll get into heaven if heaven existed, which is a really poor way of living life, simply because someone used a great analogy of letting a stranger in your house. If a stranger comes to your house and say, hey, look, I'm a good person. I've done this. I've given donations, helped the poor. Can you let me in your house so I can live with you? 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, no, I don't know you. I'm not letting you in my house. I don't care what type of good person you are. I know I would say that. I wouldn't let somebody just because you just don't know a person like that. It's kind of how heaven is when it comes to Jesus Christ. A lot of us want to get into heaven, but not get to know him, not praise him, not give him the glory, which it's his house. So that analogy is what helped me kind of do research and look for evidence for his reliability. But it wasn't just him. There are other religions out there too. So I had to do some research on those as well. And what I've come to the conclusion with this long journey that took several years is that the most reliable sheet of ice, so to speak, was Jesus Christ. I try not to, and my wife makes fun of me because I try not to push Christ on everybody. What I do is I present the evidence and then I allow them to come to their own conclusions. Mainly because the people who I look up to, who have been my mentors, they do the same for everyone as well. And it makes the most sense to me that if you really want to get to know if God is real, if Christ is reliable, or if any of the other options are reliable, is to do your research and to ask God in good faith to reveal himself to you in a way that you can understand. Which leads me to this. This is my point. Me and my wife's experience of Christ came about differently. I'm more of an intellectual. I like evidence presented to me, something tangible and something intangible that relates to my experience of the world, to provide me with some clarification on who he is or if he existed. My wife, she knew growing up that a lot of the things she went through, not just her feelings, but her experiences in life, is that God has given her signs left and right. But what made her experience different is that I have never gone through it just experiencing that. I've never gone through the feelings of it. Like, okay, I feel like God's here. No, that never has been relatable to me. And to this day, I still struggle with feeling God like that. I still dwell in the intellectual. Now, I have had emotional connections to God, but not like she does. She has a real powerful emotional connection to Christ. We come to understand that that's not a problem, simply because the intellectual side to me gives me that equates to that same type of feeling, because I have something there that I can hold on to, and I'm not making it an idol, just so you know. It is something I can hold on to that lets me know God left enough evidence in this world for us to intellectually, emotionally, and through our experiences, through books, left more than enough evidence of reliability of him. What is your level of evidence that you need to believe that God exists? If there is no amount of evidence that will ever convince you that God exists, then then there will be no evidence. There's no point in him even providing evidence to you. If you ask Jesus to reveal himself to you, if you ask God to reveal himself to you, he will. He's not going to invade your heart. He wants you to invite him in. Our God is a God of compassion, a God of love, but he's also a God of justice, and he gives us free will. All that being entailed, he is not going to force you to love him. This is why the whole, if God loved everybody, why doesn't everybody get into heaven conversation always baffles me. Because it's like, if you are a person who don't believe in him, why would you want to go to heaven? That would be torture for you. Because in heaven, we'll be praising and worshiping him and fellowshipping with God. You wouldn't want to do that because you don't want to do it here on earth. But I was saying all that to reassure people that your experience with Christ is individualized. Everyone will experience him differently. Some, in some way, are relatable. Like a lot of the intellectual side of it, we have like a hybrid of connection with Christ. Whereas some people just like the direct historical accuracy of it. Some people like just the feeling and the experience. And that's okay. If they lead you to Christ, well, I see nothing wrong with it. As long as it ties into the word, because the word is what gives us the basis of what he gives us, the basis of who he is, gives us a description of how he wants us to be, the laws and how we should govern ourselves, to have the most optimal life and to be clean. If you're not going against his word, you're fine. As I said before, put all the faith, all the love, all the passion in thin ice and still fall through. Or you can put your faith, your passion, and love a little bit into thick ice. You'll never touch that water.